Oklahoma City Thunder versus San Antonio Spurs was the most excited I have been for a playoff series in a very long time. And through 2 games, it has absolutely lived up to the hype. Game 1 went to double overtime, Spurs winning that one. And tonight, the Oklahoma City Thunder punched back, winning 122 to 113 behind a huge performance from their back-to-back MVP, Shai Gilgeous Alexander. There's a lot we can discuss about this basketball game and take going forward that we will see play out through the rest of the series, and I can't wait to talk about it. Before we do, make sure you take a second to subscribe. We just passed 1,400 subscribers, and we are going to be covering every game for the rest of the NBA playoffs, so make sure you take a second to do that. So tonight, Shai Gilgeous Alexander had 30 points, bounced back from kind of a tough game 1, and the Thunder really flexed the depth of their roster. We know that game 1, going to double overtime, guys played huge minutes and were very exhausted. They said yesterday the Spurs hardly even got out of bed, even though those guys are young. That takes a huge toll on your body, playing more minutes in an intense basketball game than you've ever played in your life. And we know the physicality between these two teams. They really don't seem to like each other. The intensity, they both know how talented they are. So these games are going to take a lot out of both teams. And we saw 3 guys leave tonight's game with an injury. Dylan Harper with the hamstring, J-Dub with his hamstring he had been dealing with, and Ajay Mitchell at the end of the game also was holding his hamstring and went to the bench. Obviously, we hope all of those guys are able to play in the next game and De'Aaron Fox is able to come back. But you are going to see a lot of that in this series. It will be a war of attrition. It will be a battle. The physicality in this basketball game was really, really high. We saw a ton of fouls called, and it felt like Isaiah Hartenstein was fouling Victor Wembanyama or some guy on the San Antonio Spurs almost every play, just daring the refs to blow the whistle. He pulled Stephon Castle's hair. He was pulling guys' arms, pulled Wemby many times, and that was the huge adjustment that Mark Dagnall made for this basketball game. In game 1, we saw Hartenstein only play limited minutes, and tonight you wondered, will he even see the court? Because sometimes that can be a bad matchup for a 3-point center that can shoot the 3 ball like Victor Wembanyama and run the floor and space the floor. It can be a huge mismatch in a lot of cases, but Hartenstein played a huge part in this game, and if the refs continue to allow him to get away with the physical basketball he was playing, it'll be very interesting to see how this series looks going forward. So let's talk about the game. In the first half, Shai Gilgeous Alexander came out way more aggressive and assertive, looking for his shot, having 15 points in the first half. Cason Wallace hit 3 3-pointers, having 9 points. And Victor Wembanyama only took 4 shots. One of the biggest themes we've seen so far in these first 2 games is that the San Antonio Spurs are turning the ball over at a very high clip. In particular, Stephon Castle. We had 11 turnovers in game 1, 9 turnovers tonight in game 2. But in the first half, the Spurs had 13 turnovers, and they finished the basketball game with 21 to 10. The Thunder scored 27 points off the Spurs turnovers, and the Spurs only scored 10 points off the Thunder turnovers. So that was really one of the biggest differences in this basketball game. Now, this is going to be something to watch if Dylan Harper is not able to come back next game, if De'Aaron Fox is not able to come back next game. So much of the ball handling pressure will be on Stephon Castle to make all the plays, and the way that the Thunder are defending him so aggressively, forcing him into turnovers, forcing him into, trying to get rid of the basketball is going to be very interesting. And I was watching First Things First, Chris Broussard on that show, and he was saying that one of the reasons he was so optimistic about the San Antonio Spurs is because he didn't think that they would turn the ball over at that clip or continue to. Well, we know the Thunder have the best defense in the entire NBA, and a lot of it starts with their aggressive guards on the perimeter. So they're going to continue to get up into guys and really make it difficult. So if Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox are not able to play, I think that will be a huge blow to the San Antonio Spurs. On the flip side, J-Dub goes out for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it feels like it doesn't really matter all the time. So, all in all, so you get to the end of the first half, the Thunder have an 11-point lead, 62-51. We come out early in the third quarter. Wemby scores 10 points after only shooting the 4 shots in the first half, like I had mentioned. He scores 10 points quick in the first 5 minutes of the quarter. It feels like the Spurs are really making a run, coming back, and the Thunder punch right back. And that's really been the story of this series so far, is it feels like these two teams are just trading blows back and forth. No team can get a huge edge. No team can go on one of their massive runs that both teams are capable of doing because of the talent and because of both teams' ability to get a great shot at almost any time. This is a very high-scoring game for two teams that have really quality defenses. Sometimes when you watch a team in the playoffs, it feels like you notice how hard it is for them to get a good look when one particular player is off the court. We saw this sometimes with the Detroit Pistons when Cade Cunningham was not on the court or initiating the offense. It felt like they could not get a good shot at times. We saw it sometimes with the Cleveland Cavaliers. If Donovan Mitchell is off the court and James Harden's in one of his modes, it feels like they just can't get a good look at any point. The Rockets not having a point guard. So it is so important to have multiple guys that are able to generate offense. And both of these teams have so many players that can get good looks, that take good shots, and you really notice it, and that's why this game was so high scoring. Obviously, game one was high scoring, but went to double overtime, so it was a little different. But so you're coming out in the third quarter. The Spurs make a run. Thunder make a run. Ultimately, the Spurs win that quarter by 3. 8-point game going into the fourth. And as we start the fourth quarter, the Spurs go on a quick run, 9-3. And you're starting to see some of the fatigue look like it's really weighing on the Spurs after that run. It looked like Victor Wembanyama wasn't jumping for rebounds at times, wasn't getting down the court and being aggressive calling for the basketball. And we know the big thing talked about with Wemby is he doesn't play a lot of minutes through the regular season in his career. He has not played a bunch of high-minute basketball games. He, hasn't played over 75 games in a season so far in his career. So it'll be very interesting to watch as the series goes forward and they're playing every other day. How will they be able to adjust to the fatigue, in particular him and these young players? If you have guys like Harper and De'Aaron Fox not on the court, I mean, they're playing Jordan McLaughlin, played 7 minutes in this game. He actually hit 2 threes, but that's not what the Spurs had planned going into this series. So Luke Kornet coming in and being able to give Wemby a rest will be important, and Wemby's ability to conserve energy and, just deal with the physicality of these games will be probably one of the biggest storylines. So you look at the Thunder roster. Shai gave you 30. Chet gave you 13. Hartenstein had 10 points, 13 rebounds, and we know he was just defensively just beating up the Spurs players. He had 4 fouls, but probably realistically had 10 fouls. Dort gave you 8 points, and then off the bench, Alex Caruso has been unbelievable so far in this series. It feels like he can't miss. We know he had, I believe it was 30 in game 1. Tonight he gave you 17. And here is the big story of the game for me. Cason Wallace giving you 12, Jared McCain 12, and Ajay Mitchell giving you 10 points off the bench. The bench production for the Oklahoma City Thunder is so much better than every other team in the league that it creates a very unique mismatch that I'm not sure any other team will be able to deal with. Now, the Spurs can counter that with massive games from their starters. We know that they do have a quality bench if all their guys are in the roster, because they do have, normally you'd have Dylan Harper coming off the bench. You normally would have, Carter Bryant, Keldon Johnson, 6th man of the year, Luke Kornet. You do have good players coming off the Spurs bench, but not like the Thunder. They don't have the volume of players that can play in a big playoff matchup. So that will be something to look for going forward. Ultimately, while watching this basketball game, what kept going through my mind is the biggest winner so far in this series between the Spurs and the Thunder is the New York Knicks, or if the Cleveland Cavaliers find a way to come out of the Eastern Conference. But look at the way that this series is going, it's going to be a long series. It's going to be physical. We have 3 guys that have already left with injuries. The New York Knicks, if they are able to make quick work of the Cleveland Cavaliers after sweeping the Philadelphia 76ers, they will go into the finals considerably healthier and more well-rested than either of these rosters. Now, ultimately, I will still pick whatever team comes out of the series to beat the Knicks, but if they're going to have any chance to win the NBA Finals, the New York Knicks, I believe it'll be because there's a key injury to one of these rosters, or they're just so fatigued from this dogfight they've been in over the last few weeks. So we saw start the fourth quarter, the Spurs started to make a run, and the Thunder shut that down. Shai Gilgeous Alexander had 15 in the first half, 15 in the second half, and that was important for him. It was an important game for the Oklahoma City Thunder to win because these two teams have played 6 times this year. The Spurs had won 5 of them. You feel like, is this starting to get in the mind of the Oklahoma City Thunder? It's something that you would just worry about. Do they believe that they're better than the San Antonio Spurs? Because you look back at last year in particular, the Oklahoma City Thunder went to 7 games with both the Denver Nuggets and the Indiana Pacers. But in my opinion, they believed at every moment that we are better than the opposing basketball team. Well, you've played the Spurs so many times this year that you can start to question that. You have a unique matchup with the Wemby factor, a guy that is very unique with his size and his length and, his ability to move at that size. Questions can start to arise in your head. Are we able to compete with that? Are we better than this team? You might feel like if every game's going to be a dogfight, but it makes it so important to win tonight in Oklahoma City and not go down 2-0 heading back to San Antonio. So I am still picking the Spurs to win this series in 6 or 7 games. But heading back to San Antonio to be very interesting to see if the players get healthy, because if the Spurs are without both of their guards in Harper and De'Aaron Fox, I will be very nervous about their ability to lower that turnover number that we've seen be an issue in both games. Both teams shot the basketball well. Spurs, I think, had the higher shot 40% from 3, and the Thunder were 36%, but from the field they're 49% and 48%. And then the Spurs also won the rebounding battle. So they shot better from the field, from the 3-point range. They had more rebounds, but they lost the game primarily because of those turnovers. So going into game 3, the Spurs have to figure out what adjustment they can make. And it'll be very interesting to see if the Spurs turn in a video of all that Isaiah Hartenstein was doing in this game, pulling guys' hair, pulling guys' arms. Will the refs watch that more closely in Game 3, especially as we get to San Antonio? All in all, I think we have an incredible series on our hands. I can't wait to watch how it plays out. I will be hyped for every game. Again, if you love the NBA, make sure you take a second to subscribe. Appreciate y'all watching. Cyborg out.